Bodie Reeder was introduced earlier this year, and he's come into some pretty unique circumstances at his new job, and he joins us now in the Full Court Press. Coach Reeder, thanks for spending some time with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
I guess, first of all, before we get into all this, like what's happening now in the midst of all this craziness and how you're keeping yourself busy, let's take a step back a little bit about you coming to Utah State. There was some changes with offensive coordinators, and there's a position that was open. What was it that first attracted you to Utah State, and how did that process work to get the ball rolling to get you here?
Well, I had met a couple guys on staff prior. I had met TJ Woods, and I'd met Justin Inna and Stacy Collins. And just when you're out recruiting and you're working the camp circuits, you naturally bump into guys and you start seeing faces over and over, and then those faces become, friends. And I had heard so many good things about Coach Anderson and the way that he organizes the program and how he treats the players and how he is to work for, that it was really, you've spoken so highly of that. It was a great opportunity for me to come see what it was all about. And it's very conducive to a family environment, and obviously the Valley is a family type atmosphere, and I have a young family, and it was a good fit for us.
For you, Coach, what is this whole little break with no spring ball and all such? What have you been able to do to stay busy?
Well, so it's obviously challenging and staying busy. Like, I understand that, people are wondering what the heck we're doing right now, but it's actually very hectic because we do care for these young men, and they're everywhere right now. Normally you can kind of keep them underneath your thumb and you're meeting with them every day, but now, I have 4 quarterbacks right now in 4 states, and, yes, there's no in-class classes, but school's not closed. Like, those kids are still doing their online work, so we're still seeing them through the semester academically and making sure that they're making the progress towards their degree and staying in the confines of being eligible for when this thing does open back up. We've designed workouts for the players to do daily with Coach Hicks, our strength and conditioning coordinator, so running and lifting. And some of the guys don't have access to the weight, so we've had to modify those workouts to be body weight, or some guys have just limited weight sets that maybe home that mom and dad have. So we've modified weights to kind of be conducive to all the different scenarios that a kid may have at home. And then finally, we're trying to do, and I think it's been pretty good. We're doing remote and Zoom meetings for our position meetings. So the kids are getting some workouts, they're getting academics, and they're getting football every day.
This is these are unprecedented times. We're all kind of wading through, not understanding what the next day is going to look like. But besides dealing with the players that you have now on rosters, there's an aspect of what coaches need to be doing this time of year with recruiting as well. So what's that process like?
Well, I can only speak to the eyes of the quarterback coaches. That's the only thing I've ever coached. And this is very, very unusual because 99% of the quarterback coaches, whether it be myself or Coach Sanford or Coach Yost, they're going to tell you that they have to see a kid throw live before they offer them. And that's not going to happen this year. That's what's really, really unique. So right now we're just pouring over as much video and huddle film as we can of these kids, and calling the high school coaches and trying to get as much background and as much as you possibly can without getting into the school. That's the neat thing about spring recruiting in May is you're going to the school, and it's not as crunch time as it is in December and January. So you have a little bit more time to spend in the schools and chat and get to know the coaches and find out about the kids. But now, obviously, with that being eliminated, it's all going to be done over video and over the phone. So the offensive staff right now are trying to get ahead in recruiting. So every day we're picking out a different position group, whether it be offensive line or tight ends or running backs or wide receivers or quarterbacks, and that whole day is designated recruiting-wise to that position. So it gives us time, right? So we're trying to make the most of it.
You talked about the 4 quarterbacks in 4 different states right now, but when you got to look at these quarterbacks, Henry, Andrew, and Cooper as well, and then who's your 4th guy from Nevada? I forget who his name is.
Josh Calvin from Southern California.
California, excuse me. I apologize. What has stood out to you about the 4 kids, and how close is this competition?
Well, I think it's gonna be close. I do. Henry Columbia obviously he's the more seasoned guy, and I was really, really impressed with how well and how fast he was able to pick up the changes in the scheme and the terminology. I think that his knowledge of the game and his just being around is going to give him, or I guess, be really, really hard for him to not be the guy, and he's physically talented enough to make enough plays and to move the ball for us. But he's a sharp kid, and he's really taken to trying to fill this leadership void that's there right now. Peasley's the best athlete in the room. Well, I mean, that's questionable too, because Cooper, the guy, he's an excellent athlete as well. But Peasley's known to be the guy that's going to run around and probably make more plays with his legs. He's just rusty right now. Obviously missing a lot of time last year with the knee, and then coming off the red shirt. So, but he'll get better. And then Cooper's just a natural athlete. He does everything well, and he's a strong kid, good athlete. He's just got to get more and more football underneath his belt. And then Calvin right now he's a little bit more the developmental guy. But like when you see this kid on the hoof, he's what you want. I mean, he is a tall, long, big hands. He's going to be really good. He's more of like your developmental type that he's going to take, a few semesters to round into shape, but he's going to be a dang good player.
Talking to Bodie Reeder, offensive coordinator for Utah State University. And before the break happened, before Utah State said we're suspending everything on campus, it includes practices that with spring practices for USU football. How comfortable were you with the unit that you had with you? Not just the quarterbacks, but looking at the offense as a whole, where things were progressing before the break?
Well, it's hard, right? Because we only had 2 practices and they were unpadded. And a big theme of ours going into spring was to create a physical mentality. We were going to try to develop a little bit more in the run game and get things, control line of scrimmage more. So that's hard to tell for me right now. But what I can speak on is their ability to pick up everything new that I was throwing at them was really impressive. Like, that's not going to be an issue with these guys. They're really smart. They've been really, really well coached. It's just learning a new language for them right now, and a couple different formations and incorporating those tight ends a little bit more. But I think that once we have a chance to get pads on, then we'll be able to tell, are we going to be able to move the ball on the ground consistently? And I know, there's a lot of question marks there right now, but it's hard to answer that question without having pads on.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
But philosophically, do you come into a situation that is a couple years removed from perhaps one of the best offenses Utah State has seen, but there's some changeover, players leave, staff changes. Where do you philosophically see this going for Utah State in an ideal situation with what type of personnel you have? Granted, I get it. You haven't had a lot of time to evaluate and be with these guys, but philosophically, where do you see Utah State football in an ideal situation?
So a big word, ever since I was at Oklahoma State and then going to Eastern Washington, it's something that I've really kind of clung to was the ability to be balanced. And I don't necessarily think that balance means you have to run it 50% of the time and pass it 50% of the time. But what I think that means is you have to be able to spread the ball to different players. And I don't think, I'm just speaking candidly, I don't think there's a first-team All-American out there right now. But I think there's a lot of really good Mountain West players and guys that are going to be effective and guys that need the ball in their hands. So instead of trying to, force it down one guy's throat, what I think we can do is allow several different guys to touch the ball. And I think that we're going to have some backs in the backfield that are going to be, very good players and dynamic. I think that our tight end room that might be our best room along with the offensive line. Carson Terrell and Logan Lee and Mo Manu and the Bowman kid, those guys are all really good players. And, Bryce Mortensen, people are going to be really, really happy with what he's doing. He's just gets better every day. I think that they are going to give us some versatility and allow us to do a lot of different things with our personnel and formations that can cause people problems in defending gaps and allow us to run the ball and then go to play action games. So to me, I think in a perfect world, we're balanced, and what I mean is allowing those different guys to touch the ball and being able to run it and throw it and go fast and at the same time be able to control the clock when we need to.
What's your time with Coach Anderson been like?
He's awesome. He's professional. He treats everybody with respect and treats them like a man. He's a wonderful guy. What I really admire most about him is how he treats players. He's great with them.
He was quoted in another publication today, if I'm not mistaken, saying that if they're not able to have the players on campus by June 1, then we may have to start thinking about delaying the season. Well, how much time do you need with a team before you put them in a situation where if you rush it, you put them into harm's way because of potential injury?
In my opinion, it's not so much the time that I need with them, it's the time that the strength and conditioning staff needs with them, because it's such a violent game, and now everyone is so heightened awareness in the last few years with player safety for good reason. In my opinion, you need 8 weeks with those kids, because to build their bodies, both, with muscle mass to get them in a position where they can withstand a season, and then also in their conditioning and their long muscle training because you think about if these kids came back on June 1st and you tried to run them into the ground, you'd have 100 hamstring injuries, right? Because as much as you want to believe that they're doing everything possible to be in shape, it's just not the same as being here and being under our eyes all the time. I think you need 8 weeks with them to get them to a point where they could hold up during a season.
Okay, off field, outside of coaching, let's relax here. Let your hair down just a bit with the lack of hair you have. But
that's a good one.
What about Cache Valley do you like? I mean, have you tried the Aggie ice cream? Have you tried the local restaurants? What are you liking so far?
Yeah. So my wife and I, we love trying different places to eat. So right now we've been doing different carry-outs or deliveries. So like last night we had Roma's, and that was awesome. Loved it. When we were in the West the first time out in Washington, we really fell in love with the West, and like just looking around it's unbelievable. It's a place that I can see why people fall in love. I mean, it's a lot different in Champaign, Illinois now. That's where I'm from. Like there's a lot of cornfields and a lot of flat country. Yeah, and my wife's from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and that's a different type of cold. Different cold. So I think that it's just first, number one. Everyone says that it's a family-oriented community, and I get it. But then you move into like the neighborhood that we're in, and you see the families walking around with little kids, and people bringing over cookies to welcome you into the neighborhood, and that it's real. People who care about kids, they care about families, and I think that's unique.
We're talking to Bodie Reeder. He's the new offensive coordinator for Utah State University. When was it that initially got you interested in being a coach?
Well, I always had a really good time playing, and I was an average player, but I had a really good experience, and I thought my coaches had a big impact on my life. I knew I wasn't going to be able to play professionally after I had done playing in college, and I wanted to stay in the game. So I kind of knew in the back of my head, ever since I was probably in high school, I wanted to get into coaching. I didn't know what level, and I thought I might want to be a high school coach. But after I had done playing in college, my college coach asked me to come back as a GA, a graduate assistant, but he made me go to defense, and then that was like totally eye-opening. I didn't know anything about football on that side, so I really just fell in love with it, and very blessed to be able to do it because I have zero other skills. Like I'm terrible. I can't like farm or weld or like awful. Like we're moving into this house right now, right? And like it took me 3 times longer to mount this TV today than any normal human. I had no skills.
Hey, what position did you play in football? I don't know if you just said.
I played quarterback. Yeah, at Eastern Illinois University.
You were the quarterback.
I was. Yeah.
Hey, is that where Jimmy Garoppolo went? Was Eastern Illinois?
Yeah.
Where did he?
Yeah, I hosted Jimmy on his visit. Yep.
No kidding.
Yeah, so I'm in between Tony Romo and Jimmy Garoppolo there.
Dude, that's a man. You've had a really tough life. Like you're not good at anything. You're sitting between two, I guess, decent quarterbacks. What was it like spending time with Jimmy G, if I may ask?
He's what you see is what you get. Man, he's addicted to football, loves the game. He's a tough kid. But the years that I was around him, they were awful. because he got thrown into the fire as a true freshman. I think he led the country in picks and sacks taken as a true freshman, and just got the crap beat out of him. I mean, we were a basketball team at that time, really young, and then by the time he was a senior, he's setting national records, and just I think that just shows his perseverance and how much he loves the game.
Coach, you talked earlier when we first had you here in the first part of your segment, talking about how you guys are busy, even though you can't have practices and you can't be really meeting with a lot of these players. There's still a lot of activity that's going on. How much game film have you digested looking ahead at teams like Washington State or other Mountain West opponents?
So what we did when this whole thing started up, kind of forecasted that we were going to get locked out and not be able to get into practice. We had our staff break down 4 games for the upcoming season. So, we picked out 4 opponents and we're starting to game plan. So those cut-ups are done. With the technology now, all of our coaches have the ability to access that video at home with the surfaces that were provided through the university. So we're able to game plan and we're going to get a leg up on Washington State to begin with. And that's obviously going to be Wyoming's defense from last year with their defense coordinator hopping over there. So that's something you can do. You can get a jump up on those guys.
Coach, you looking forward to September 3rd this fall? It's Washington State at your house on a Thursday night?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I cannot wait. Oh, yeah. That's the fun part, right? Like you put in all the grind and all the hours and then you tee it up and then let it rip. And then at that point, it's just you get a chance to watch those guys play because the hay's in the barn.
Hey, what's the relationship with the rest of that coaching staff? With the offensive side of things, as you've kind of been brought in, a lot of those other guys were already there before, but what's that been like so far, meshing together with the guys that are there?
It's been good. I mean, they're all theater people. I'm a younger guy, and I've been lucky in my career to be a coordinator for several years now. So I've always been the youngest one, and I've always been the coordinator. So this is not a unique thing for me, but it's really it's neat to have a guy like TJ Woods in the room who has been around with Coach A and coached some great places, and I've learned a lot from him. Learned a lot from Coach Dave Schramm, who's obviously coached a lot longer than me and given me great advice. And Coach Phillips is tremendous to be around and learn some of the passing game that he's learned from his days at Houston and Baylor, and it is really good. I'm not an ego guy. I don't care who gets the credit or I'll always take the blame, but I just want to win, and those guys know that.
Hey, final question for me, Coach. And this is more for a selfish purpose, to be quite honest with you. But I know you're extremely busy. I'm not. And so I'm wondering, I've been trying to watch sports games like crazy. If there's one football game that you would tell me, you know what, this would be a fun game just to go watch, college or NFL, I don't care. What's one game you would tell me to go back and watch so I can go watch something tonight?
Well, I'll give you 2.
Good.
Okay? 2015, I was at Oklahoma State. We played at Texas Tech. Texas Tech had a quarterback named Mahomes. Our quarterback was a kid named Mason Rudolph.
Oh, my heck.
I've heard of those guys.
Yeah. We beat them 72-56. We were down by 18 points in the fourth quarter and came back and won.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. You got to watch that one. That one's incredible.
Okay.
So we had 2 quarterbacks both threw for over 200 yards. We had a receiver that went for like 300, then Mahomes went off. He went crazy too. That was a good one.
That was 15, right?
That was 15.
Okay.
Yeah, 16, we beat them 50-49. They missed a PAT with 3 seconds left, and we beat them that way. And that was Mahomes against Rudolph again. Those 2 games, those were fun. Okay, and then 2017, if you can find this one, if you mind watching a little Big Sky football, that's good football now.
Heck yeah.
Okay, 2017. Eastern Washington at Montana. Montana's an incredible place to play. Like, that's the toughest place that I've ever played a game. Loud, it's the elevation, it's all tough there. We're down by 21 or 24 going in to halftime. They're licking us pretty good. We scored 42 points in the second half and whipped them.
Holy cow. 42 points in one half.
What happened?
Yeah. Our quarterback threw for 560.
What?
Yeah, it's a good one. That was a good game.
Wow.
Oh, that's good stuff. I'm checking that out tonight.
You got some homework.
I'm taking
AJ.
I'm taking the big Sky game too. First one I'm watching.
Yep, that was a fun one. 42 in the second half in Missoula. I'll never forget. I got that one hanging on my wall. Big picture of us still written. That was a cool one.
That's a good one, Coach. Hey, thank you.
Coach, thanks for your time. I know these are really strange times, especially for coaches trying to work with young men and wherever they may be to try to get through this, not just physically, but also emotionally, mentally. We're all kind of uncertain, so it takes a different role than just X's and O's. So we appreciate what you and the rest of your staff are doing through all of this, and hopefully before too long, we look forward to seeing what's going on the football field once again.
Thank you so much. I appreciate, and again, thank you so much for welcoming me into the community. I can't wait to introduce everyone to my wife, Ashley, my little boy crew. It's been great.